Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Laurie Lewis is a wellness coach specializing in intermittent fasting, showing people how to reclaim their health and well-being amidst life's demands. With a personal journey of overcoming menopause symptoms and losing 50 pounds through an eating window, Laurie inspires others to tap into their body's innate wisdom. Her customized coaching makes intermittent fasting accessible, helping individuals achieve vibrant health without restrictive diets. We've all had those. With a biological age of 40 at 61. You don't even look 61. Sorry. Pause there. You look amazing.
Oh my
Lori
gosh.
is a testament to the transformative power of intermittent fasting and a trusted guide for those looking to feel their best. Wow. So it obviously works. I can just look at you right
Thank
now and just
you.
like, wow, it works.
I'm
Well,
so grateful. Yes. 8 years ago, I was really suffering and struggling through perimenopause and menopause. And I'm so thankful that I get to support other people have an easier time of these transition years. So
oh,
thanks for
absolutely.
inviting me. It's good to be with you.
Oh, yes. And I was just sharing with you, I was a weight loss consultant in my 20s. I'm in my early 40s now. And I used to work for Jenny Craig. I'm just going to say it. I used to work for Jenny Craig. And I would get repeat clients. They would lose their 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds and then come back and then
Yeah.
lose and come back. So it was never sustainable, like we were talking about. Now,
Mm,
many people feel like they've dieted all their lives. Like I was one of them.
yes.
Why do you think traditional dieting leads to this outcome? And how can intermittent fasting be a solution?
I think that we live in what I call a punishment model, where we don't trust ourselves, we trust external authorities. We're getting such confusing and conflicting messages from the world about what's the right food, what's the right, and what's the right supplement and what's going to lower inflammation. And it's just a barrage of noise and confusion. And it's meant to leave us feeling inadequate and confused and not trusting ourselves and not trusting our bodies. An aspect of the punishment model also is that we're trying so hard to be good and avoid being bad. And those foods are bad. And if I eat them, I'm bad. And just this ongoing cycle of never measuring up, always failing, and always looking to an external source for how am I doing and am I doing it right? So when we can identify that we're in this punishment model, we can see it and we're experiencing it, then we have an opportunity to literally step into another paradigm, which I have proven for myself and thousands of people I've coached that when we can create for ourselves an eating schedule that has us feel our best, it works with our life, and it has us reach and maintain our health goals, which include weight goals, that when we can figure out that ideal schedule for our own selves and our own life, that then creates a foundation for our bodies, for us to hear our bodies say, I would prefer this food. I would prefer you not eat that food anymore. It doesn't make me feel well. And we have a heightened clarity and discernment from our communication from our own body of what it needs and wants. It wants more sleep. It wants more water. It wants more movement. It wants you to eat in an eating window. It wants that time to heal when we are fasting. People are scared of the word fasting. I understand it sounds like a whole lot of deprivation, but very quickly, new intermittent fasters will discover the eating window that has them feel so well. And people always say, like 100% of people say, the fasting hours are easy. It's the eating window that I gotta figure out for myself. So it just feels so good to be in a fasted state. And I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to guide and support people in this very his foundational, evolutionarily, human beings for 300,000 years up until the last 70 years have thrived in an environment of food scarcity. And now we live in a time of food abundance 24/7. So it really does support us to use the clock and create some guardrails on when we eat. So we're sure that we're healing our bodies every day.
I love that. Yes, and it is an experiment for ourselves too. We have to see what works best for us. I know when I heard of fasting, I thought, oh, deprivation, like you were saying, I have to
Yeah.
deprive myself of food and not eat. But it's not like that. Like I've done spiritual fasting where I wanted to try to detox my body, and for 24 hours, I didn't eat. I was just drinking water.
Yes.
I felt so incredible the next day, but I didn't keep it up, you know? And
Right.
then we would play with it here and there. But I love the idea of experimenting and then figuring out which window works best for you. And I was just sharing with you that I actually now stop eating at 4 o'clock. Now, I will admit I've had those times, sometimes on the weekends, with family members saying, hey, let's go out to dinner. I'm like, oh. But I don't eat as much as I used to. I would just go ahead and eat something light. I comparison to a steak, I would then eat maybe perhaps like a super salad or something small. My body starts getting used to it. Do you notice that a lot for your clients too?
I love it so much because you didn't read in an email or hear on a podcast somewhere that you are supposed to stop eating at 4. You discovered for your own self that eating later than 4 for your body has certain consequences. And you're like, huh, you kind of pieced it together for yourself. I feel better when I stop eating before 4 p.m. And then when people invite you to dinner, what have you, you're a little reluctant because you're prioritizing how well you feel. You're like, oh, am I gonna not feel well if I accept this invitation? And but see, what's driving that is you feeling well, not that you're trying to be good or follow someone else's plan. And so, yes, what happens when people discover their own favorite eating window, again, that's based on how well you feel, if it works with the timing of your life and the people in it, and if it's supporting you in reaching and maintaining your health and weight goals. And when that feeling well is driving your decisions, it's pretty easy to kind of stand up for yourself and say, oh, I'm happy to come, but I'm not going to eat too much because I don't feel so great when I eat past 4. Now, what's funny, Gina, is I actually have discovered for myself the eating window that has me feel my best. And mine is actually a little later than yours. So every day for 7.5 years, I've had an eating window. And I've changed it based on, travel and social functions and so forth, as I'm sure you have too. But I feel so well burning my own body fat throughout the entire day. It gives me a nice, sustained, clear energy to focus on my work. And then I open my eating window later, generally right at the tail end of my work day. And so each person can discover for themselves what has them feel their very best.
That's right. Because sometimes I wake up, I mean, going back, okay, we were conditioned to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. This is the time, during recess or right before recess, we go have our lunch at school, and
Right.
then we come home and have snack. And then dinner and then dessert, we were conditioned that way. We were programmed that way that we have to finish all of our food on the plate. At least I did. Eat all of
Yes,
your food, my mom would tell me. But it doesn't have to be that way.
it doesn't. And this is a modern construct. So the breakfast cereal company, Kellogg's, was the company that decided for us that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. And that was an ad campaign about 100 years ago. So before that time, food was scarce and people were lucky if they had one meal a day. And there are plenty of studies, scientific studies that are done that show that having an eating window, plain fasting, drinking plain water, and then having an eating window later, or sometimes they say calorie restriction study. There are a lot of calorie restriction studies. But what's very easy about intermittent fasting is we are managing the quantity of food that we're eating, so to speak, which could be looked at as calorie restriction, but it's not really because there have been plenty of studies that show that people who eat the same amount of food in their eating window as someone else who's eating constantly, but those of us who eat in an eating window, we could be eating this very same amount of food, but because it's constrained into that time frame, the body is then burning fat and healing during the fasting hours. And we actually do burn more body fat and get healthier, even if maybe we're eating the same amount of food in a constrained amount of time. So people, it's been proven that we it actually has integrity. I use the word integrity purposefully because to me, integrity means that we're working with the design of something and that we're working with the design of our bodies when we're putting ourselves consciously and deliberately into a fasted state each day. And then looking forward to all the, delicious food that we'll be eating when we open our eating window. I met a woman last year, which is amazing. So I'm about 20 years older than you, and this woman was 30 years older than I. So she was in her early 90s, and she gets in her van and drives around long distances to see people. And she had just driven down from Canada. I was up in Washington State where I met her. And she and I were chatting, and she said something about her breakfast and making eggs for the morning. And now it's amazing in just alone that a 90-year-old woman would be driving and camping in her van and right.
Yeah, I know, right?
She shared with me that breakfast is her one meal of the day. Now, this lady had no idea she's an intermittent faster, right? But I was
Yep.
like, wait, what do you mean breakfast? What? Tell me more. Tell me more. I was so curious. And she said that she makes her 4 eggs and she makes a variety of different little vegetables to go with. Some days she might have some bacon with it or some other meat, but mostly she eats her little breakfast. She drinks her coffee the way she likes it in the morning. And she has that breakfast at around 6:30 in the morning. And I said, then what do you do? And she looked at me strange. She's like, I drink water. And I'm like, so you have this breakfast with your coffee the way you like it. I said, when do you stop eating? She said, oh, always by 8 a.m. And I said, so then from 8 a.m. until when you go to bed at night, you are drinking water. And she said, yeah. I said, why do you do that? And she said, she looked at me like I was crazy. She's like, because I feel better when I do that. And then
That's
I said,
funny.
what about everybody else, who comes to visit you or blah, blah. She said, you know what? She's just a no nonsense gal, right? She said, you know what? I figure when I'm doing what's best for me, everybody else can do what's best for them. Oh, mic drop, right?
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How sweet. So she was 90 something years old.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Very wise. See, even that intermittent fasting has helped her her cognitive, right? So some people
Ex-
get foggy brain sometimes as we age, especially during menopause, right?
that's right.
And now we start shifting and things just change. Now, speaking about menopause, it can
Yeah.
bring like significant hormonal challenges. And I'm sure I'm almost in perimenopause. I don't
I'm
feel
sure
like
you
it.
are.
I don't feel
Yeah.
like it. But how can intermittent fasting help alleviate some of those symptoms?
One of the things that we want to address at any age, but especially, I'm so excited you're in your early 40s, right? So you're going to catch this and upgrade your choices and get even healthier and healthier and healthier as you move into perimenopause. Perimenopause are the transition years. So right now, you might be in perimenopause, but you also might still be premenopausal. So premenopausal fertility years, perimenopause are the transition years. It can be up to 10 years. They don't send us to biology class for older women, so we tend to not really know what's happening. And then postmenopausal or being in menopause is when you have not had your period, you haven't had your cycle for 12 consecutive months, then you can declare yourself in menopause or postmenopausal. So we have over 80 hormones. People talk about, especially women,
Wow.
like, oh, I'm so hormonal. Well, what you're referring to are your sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and so forth. But we have over 80 hormones. And one of the most important, well, I'm going to focus on two super important ones. The first one is insulin, and the second hormone that's so important is cortisol, our stress hormone. And up until our mid 40s, late 40s, I think most women are pushing hard. We live in a super stressful time and we push hard. We're highly productive. We're doing everything. And there's a point in our mid to late 40s where our body says, I truly cannot take it anymore. And so wherever you are in your age, but especially you, Gina, in your early 40s, now is the time to start applying a more gentle approach and looking for ways throughout your day and throughout your life to lower your stress, because chronically high cortisol is not our friend. So when people are worried, like, oh, I hear intermittent fasting is bad for women's hormones, nothing could be farther than the truth, because we are discovering our own natural timing that works well for us and has us feel so well. What's terrible for women's hormones is chronically high stress levels and chronically high cortisol. So we want to be tender and gentle to ourselves, which I know is a new approach, because mostly in this punishment model that we live inside of, pushing hard and being mean to ourselves is the only way that we ever achieve anything. And now gentle is the way. Gentle is not mediocrity. Gentle is not a sellout. Gentle is not letting yourself off the hook. Gentle is the way. And so I really encourage people to go to bed earlier, drink a lot of water, get a lot of walks in, little mini walks throughout the day, and have an eating window. Then the second most important hormone is insulin. And most people these days are what we call insulin resistant, which means that our pancreas is cranking out a lot of insulin, trying to get the blood sugar, the sugar from the blood into the cells. And it's not able to. There's a miscommunication there. And one of the very first things that the body addresses when we fast every day, fast clean, and have an eating window is the body starts to lower the circulating insulin. And that is so important for dysfunctions such as PCOS and type 2 diabetes. And it also is so helpful with hypertension and lowering inflammation. So I am proof, and my thousands of clients are proving every single day that we can actually get healthier and feel better and have better sustained energy and sharper cognition and even more stamina and focus when we're in a fasted state and we eat later in the eating window of our choice. So hormones are really important. And I want people to prioritize insulin and cortisol. So the next time people get lab work, this is not a standard part of lab work. You got to ask for it extra special, is a fasting insulin test. That is what everyone should be begging for. If you have to pay extra for it, you can go to, you can order it yourself in most states, pay $35 and get a fasting insulin test. And we want that number to be below 5. Mm. And that is an indication that you are actually getting healthier and healthier and foregoing or pushing off way down into the future, if ever, any metabolic dysfunction. So fasting insulin is really important.
Wow. I hope everyone took notes because
Yeah.
this is important information. I notice as the seasons change, I'm changing with it. Like when the sun goes down, I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
Beautiful. Oh, what a gift to yourself. Oh my gosh. That's
Before,
really,
my goodness, midnight, 1, I had insomnia. And then
mm-hmm.
wake up at 5 a.m. Oh, I couldn't sleep, and just,
That's right.
but now I don't know what it is. Maybe because I am fasting. Who knows? But I am going to bed early. I am waking up when the sun comes up. I'm up just like naturally. And then I'm making sure I'm doing those walks, gentle activity. I have an elliptical that downstairs that I go on, and just gentle movements. I used to be all about the HIIT workouts, cardio, kickboxing, hardcore. I'm like, oh, then I hurt more the next day. I'm like, what did I do to myself?
That's right. Now, one thing we do want to add as we move through perimenopause and into menopause and forever, I say I help women aged 44 to forever, okay, is we want to be picking up heavy objects. So,
Oh, yeah.
what we cannot get complacent about is the resistance training. And we want to keep building muscle. And fasting helps with that because when we're in a fasted state, our human growth hormone production cranks up. So we actually get stronger when we're in a fasted state. And then you combine that with the resistance training and good long walks, and you're stabilizing your blood sugar, you're boosting up the human growth hormone, and you can absolutely count on, guarantee that when you're in a fasted state, if you're just drinking plain water, plain black coffee, 1 cup, and switch to water. You can have bitter black or green tea also, but no food flavors, no lemon, no, we don't want to excite the body with food flavors. We don't want the body to think, oh, good, lemon or cucumber or whatever other flavors people have, because that actually makes fasting harder. We
Mm.
think it's going to make fasting easier because you're just going to have a little something so that you can make it through, right? But when we entertain ourselves with those food flavors, we are actually exciting the digestive system, and the body thinks food's coming, and it makes
Mm.
fasting harder. So fast clean, know what delicious food you're going to be eating later when you open your eating window, and enjoy your food and close the eating window. And I love that you said you're sleeping earlier and sleeping better, because you're now on this beautiful circadian rhythm, which again has integrity. You're working with the design of our human body. Our human body never knew when food was coming. So food was always scarce, but it always knew when the sun was setting and rising and setting and rising. So regarding sleep, you're giving yourself an incredible gift of being on that circadian rhythm, and that equals extended lifespan. So good job.
Yay! Yes,
Yay.
that was you answered my question because I have this green powder, like it's vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't be okay to drink if I'm fasting. Because then
Nope,
it's
because
thinking
it's
I'm
food.
eating. It's food. Okay. I
It's
wanted to make
nutrients.
sure. I'm like, would
Yes.
any liquids count? Because it's not solid. So good. Thank you so much for clarifying.
I know people are funny, not just you. People are funny, right? We think, well, it's liquid, so it's not food.
Right.
No, no, no. Food equals nutrients. Okay. So
Ah,
we're taking in nutrients or food flavors. So remember, I said insulin's really important. And when our tongue is the beginning of the digestive tract, when our tongue tastes something enlivening and exciting, like a food flavor, it thinks, yippee, food's coming in. But because you think you're fasting, and you don't actually feed it, the body's like, where's that food you just promised me? So keep it very, very simple. Another thing that helps us, Gina, is that we live in a time where most people would describe themselves as emotional eaters. There was no such thing as emotional eaters before 4 generations ago, because food was scarce.
right.
You could, right? And the food
Right.
that we're emotionally eating is not broccoli. It's, Pringles and chips and salt, all the ultra processed food. So when we fast clean and have an eating window later, and we've planned the delicious food that we're going to have later, that actually enables us to begin to create new habits of dealing with stress that have nothing to do with food. And our ancestors didn't deal with stress by overeating chips. Okay, there weren't any.
There weren't any.
So we can restore ourselves again, back to this idea of having integrity. We can restore ourselves to our, factory settings, which are being humans who eat in a consolidated amount of time, choosing upgraded food that is real, whole, natural food that your ancestors would recognize as food, and going to sleep early. It's kind of being a little boring, right? Eating very simple food, not staying up too late, drinking a bunch of water, having an eating window. And what that results in is generally feeling much more contented, much more peaceful, much more in tune with the world around us and others. One of the really startling results that clients say, person after person, is they feel like a calmer, more patient person. They feel able to withstand stress simply because they fast clean and have an eating window of their choice. And the benefits are just so extraordinary. Just yesterday, I had a client who's worked with me for 5 months, and she went from being in the type 2 diabetic category with her A1C the number that it was, all the way, moved it all the way back to a normal A1C within 5 months, and she's 66 years old. So no
Wow.
matter our age, whether you're on the threshold of perimenopause or beyond, we actually can get healthier and healthier. It is possible to feel better.
Wow, beautiful. Now, for our listeners who are interested in connecting with you, how can they do so?
My business is Fast Forward. So it's Fast Forward Wellness. And that's my website, fastforwardwellness.com. I love it when people are in touch with me there. You can also download a how to start guide. So the easiest way to start is start today at the end of the day. So you, Gina, say you close your eating window at 4, and then you drink plain water and go to sleep and wake up tomorrow and drink plain water, maybe a black coffee if you like coffee, and you gradually extend those fasting hours. Start with maybe a 12-hour fasting time. For you, you're probably, what time do you either drink a flavored drink in the morning or have your breakfast? What's your
Oh my
normal
goodness.
time?
So like 11 o'clock today when I
Okay.
finally ate, I wasn't hungry. I wasn't hungry. You know what's funny, Lori,
Mm-hmm.
is that at nighttime, I'm like, I cannot wait to wake up and have a wonderful breakfast. But then I wake up and I'm not hungry. So,
So you are tuning in to so you're actually generally fasting about 19 hours and
oh,
having a
well,
5-hour eating window. And that is proven. There's a wonderful doctor named Dr. Bert Herring. He wrote a book called The Fast Five Diet about having the 19-5 schedule. And he wrote another amazing book called AC, The Power of Appetite Correction. And what happens in our brain is some more hormones are our satiety and hunger hormones in the appetite center in our brain start working correctly when we fast, clean, and have an eating window. So your own body is saying to you, I'm not hungry now, eat later. And your own body says, I'm hungry now. Now, mostly hunger, we'll have a hunger wave, like it'll come and go. But it seems about right that around, if you're closing your eating window at 4, that your body around 11 would say, okay, open the eating window,
yeah.
time to eat. And this is what I love supporting people with. So people can write me on my from my website and let me know how you are if you have any questions. And I work with people in groups on Zoom, and I work with people one-on-one around the world in all countries and all time zones. So I
That
have
is
a
awesome.
really great pleasure of supporting women in the group programs and women and men with my one-on-one coaching.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for all of those tips. And yeah, I'm glad that I'm on the right path. I just need to
You are.
not have those veggie drinks anymore.
Have it
And
in your eating window.
yes, okay, I will do
Yes.
that then.
Yeah.
Well, any last words or thoughts you'd like to share before we
I just
come to
want
this conclusion?
I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to have people start trusting themselves and trusting their body and loving our bodies. It's a miracle. And loving our bodies is really an outcome of fasting clean and having an eating window because people get a sense of the extraordinary healing that it's doing all on its own. And loving our bodies has nothing to do with what it looks like and everything to do with how well you feel. And I just want people to know that you don't have to live a life of more and more pain and medications, that you can actually live a life of feeling better and better and better. I wish that for everyone.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you, Gina.